Madam Attorney General, yesterday, Erez Ruveni filed a whistleblower complaint against the Department of Justice. As I think you know, he was a 15-year veteran of the Department of Justice. He received commendations during the first Trump administration for all his work at DOJ, but he filed a detailed account of his recent experience at the Department of Justice, saying that prior to his determination, that he was terminated after he refused to sign an appeal brief that was unsupported by evidence or the law. And he says, "I didn't sign up to lie." In response to his termination, you made a statement on Fox News a little while ago saying, "At my direction, every Department of Justice attorney is required to zealously advocate on behalf of the United States, and that any attorney who fails to abide by this direction will face consequences." So, General Bondi, I guess the direct question is, he says he was fired because he didn't want to make an untruthful statement to a court of law. I have two questions. Number one, I assume you agree that zealous advocacy does not mean telling untruths to courts of law. And second, if that's not the case, what did you mean by saying he was not a zealous advocate?
Senator Van Hollen, this is all pending litigation, as you're well aware, and the timing of it, I can't discuss pending litigation. This is a whistleblower lawsuit pending within my office, but I will say the timing of it I find suspect, as he takes hits at Emil Bovee, who is one of the best human beings I know, one of the smartest, brilliant men I know, who will soon become a federal judge. And his hearing happens to be today, and I find the irony of the timing of it pretty remarkable, the lawsuit. But this had to do with attorney-client privilege information that was disclosed. I can't talk about the substance, but what I will tell you, and you have obviously my word, any zealous advocacy means to be done ethically and honestly, always. And that's what I mean by zealous advocacy. He also accused Emil Bovee of things that Todd Blanche, who is one of the best human beings I also know, my Deputy Attorney General, was in the room and said did not happen. But again, I wish I could get into greater detail. I can't because it's pending. But I stand by Emil Bovee and I stand by Todd Blanche every day, and I always will.
Well, Madam Attorney General, I will say that his account seems to have lots of information. So as you say, this will obviously be something that's litigated or reviewed through due process procedures. But I have to say that it's very, very disturbing. We've also heard from others in other departments who are responsible for implementing the laws of the United States, that they feel uncomfortable about having been asked to do things that they thought were unethical. Let me go on to some of the budget questions, and I really want to follow up on my colleagues, Senator Moran and Senator Collins. But the DOJ grant funding is being sort of cut back on two fronts. One, in April, the department terminated hundreds of grant awards, notifying grantees that their current
Senate exchange, a whistleblower's explosive claims have put the Department of Justice under the spotlight. Allegations of retaliation, questions of truthfulness in court, and the withholding of critical grant funds for law enforcement and victim services, it's a moment that cuts to the core of accountability and integrity in government. Today we break down the fiery back and forth between Senator Van Hollen and Attorney General Bondi, and the serious issues at stake for justice, transparency, and public trust. Erez Ruveni, a 15-year veteran of the Department of Justice, has filed a whistleblower complaint. He claims he was fired after refusing to sign an appeal brief that he says was unsupported by evidence or law. His statement was blunt: "I didn't sign up to lie." Senator Van Hollen pressed Attorney General Bondi directly. Does zealous advocacy mean telling untruths to a court of law? And if not, why was Ruveni considered not a zealous advocate? Attorney General Bondi refused to discuss specifics, citing pending litigation. but stood by her team, calling the timing of the lawsuit suspect and defending her colleagues as the best human beings I know. She insisted her definition of zealous advocacy is always ethical and honest, but avoided addressing the whistleblower's detailed allegations head-on, leaving questions about the internal culture at DOJ unanswered. The discussion then shifted to DOJ grant funding, and here, the stakes are equally high.
Grantees that their current grant funds were gone, effective immediately. That included, law enforcement training grants, technical assistance awards, some dating back to fiscal year, I think, 2017. So question number one is, are you going to be releasing those funds? The second concern regarding grants has to do with the monies that were appropriated in this fiscal year, in March. And my understanding is that DOJ is withholding an overwhelming number of notices of funding opportunities, NOFOs, meaning that grantees who rely on these grants, including many who provide services to victims of crimes, are literally in some cases running out of money. For example, the department's biggest grant-making component, the Office of Justice Programs, has only posted one notice for fiscal year 25, NOFO notice. So if you could answer the question with respect to both those pieces.
Sure, and that's a very valid question, Senator. The notices will be going out in coming weeks about the grants. And we did cut grants by 6%, and I'm here to tell every senator, if we did cut a grant that you care about that is specific to your state, please contact me. I've turned on grants that were cut off. So please, if that happens, there's an appeal process, but you can pick up the phone and you can call me, and I would be more than happy to look at that. I never want to take away a grant that is actually helping Americans, helping victims, helping law enforcement, and we're looking at it on a case-by-case basis, and many of those are being appealed already, but you have my word, we will look at all of those, absolutely.
Thank you. And in terms of the other piece of the question, when the
Holding the law are not just ideals, they're necessities. From whistleblower accusations to funding shortfalls, today's hearing laid bare the challenges facing the Justice Department. As litigation moves forward and grant decisions unfold, the question remains, will the DOJ meet its own standard of zealous advocacy done ethically and honestly? If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, comment, and hit the subscriber button for more political breakdowns.